إن الحمد لله نحمده حمدا كثيرا طيبا كما يستحق كل محامد. هو الذي أرسل رسوله بالهدى والدين الحق وبلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح الأمة وجاهد في الله حق جهاده وترك الأمة على البيضاء ليلها كنهارها ولا يزيغ عنها إلا هالك. صلى الله نبينا وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد, my brothers, inshallah, باب من جهد شيئا من الأسماء والصفات. Chapter, whoever denies or rejects anything from Allah's names and attributes. Now, Shaykhul-Islam, he brings this chapter here, showing the importance of having belief in Asma wa Sifat. And Tawheed al-Asma wa Sifat is one of the categories of Tawheed. And this category of Tawheed, scholars have written a book to explain the Aqidah of Ahlul Sunnah and mentioning the Aqidah of Ahlul Bid'ah. This is a vast topic, but their books are written specifically on this topic, like Tahawiyya, Wasatiyya, Tadmuriyya, you go Hamawiyya, Al-Kubra, you got many books on this topic. But we're just going to go over, explain briefly what this topic is about. Now, first of all, Asma'i wa Sifat. What is the definition of Tawheed al-Asma'i wa Sifat? Now, the scholars have explained this. First of all, Asma. The word Asma means names. There's two things, names and attributes. So, Asma, ma dalla ala dhatillah ma'a sifatil kamal qa'ima bihim. This is lajna da'ima, if you go there, is there, that Asma, name of Allah Azza wa Jal, which indicates to His That, His essence, having a complete, perfect sifat. Okay? So for example, let's take a name of Allah Azza wa Jal, Ar-Rahman. Ar-Rahman is the name of Allah, yeah? It has a sifat, Ar-Rahmah. Okay? Complete, perfect attributes of Allah Azza wa Jal. So every name of Allah has the attributes attached to that. So scholars have different opinion. Is the name taken from the attributes or the attribute taken from the name? Differ among the Ahlul Sunnah. طيب. So you got Ar-Rahman, Sifa Ar-Rahmah. Okay? So when we say Ar-Rahman, name of Allah, it guides, it shows direct to His essence, isn't it? Allah's essence, that's what it is. So if I say Abdullah or Muhammad, when you think of Muhammad, you think of he has attributes, isn't it? It's not somebody unknown, somebody has essence, physical essence that he has. Okay? And at the same time, he has attributes as well. So Allah Azza wa Jal, Ar-Rahman, the name which guides us to His essence, and having a perfect attributes that befits Him. So any names of Allah, Al-Aziz, Al-Izza, Al-Ghafur, Al-Maghfirah, Al-Khaliq, Al-Khalq, Al-Razzaq, Al-Rizq, or Al-Razq. Okay? So these are the attributes and these are the name of Allah Azza wa Jal. Sifat, the ulama said, هي نعوت الكاملة قائمة به. That's what the ulama said. It is attributes, perfect attributes having His essence, having essence at the same time. Essence. So when we say Allah has a rahmah, Allah has mercy, He's merciful, but He has also essence, isn't it? Allah has the befits Allah Azza wa Jal. The essence, that means essence. I can't see any better translation than that. So the definition of Asma'i wa Sifat, our ulama has given to us. Now, when we say Tawheed al-Asma'i wa Sifat, Allah's names and attributes, the ulama gave the definition. Shaykhul-Islam has given the definition of Asma wa Sifat in his Tadmuriyya. And he says, Al-Fasl, Tawheed fi Sifat. Tawheed fi Sifat. Tawheed of Allah in His attribute. He says that Tawheed of Sifat, he said the definition is that an yusuf Allahu, let me just read it from here. Yeah, let me read it from here. Let me read from here, inshallah. He says here, أن يوصف الله تعالى بما وصف به نفسه وبما وصف به رسله نفيا وإثباتا. يثبت لله ما أثبته لنفسه وينفى ما نفى عنه نفسه. So Ibn Taymiyyah says that the Tawheed al-Asma'i wa Sifat is to describe Allah the way He described Himself in the Quran and the way Messenger described Allah Azza wa Jal. How? Nafiyan wa ithbatan, negating, affirming. Then he continues, affirming what Allah affirmed for Himself and negating what He negated for Himself. Okay? So this is very, very important, inshallah. So here, first of all, negation and affirmation. The ulama says, why not affirmation, then negation? They say that you negate first, then you affirm second. Why? Because they say that, Shaykh said that, takhliya qabla tahliya, which means you empty the disease, purify your heart from any kufr and disbelief, purify it, then you put the medicine. So when you have injury, they remove the injuries, isn't it? Then they put the medicine. That's what it is. So La ilaha illallah, negation, affirmation. So Asma wa Sifat of Allah Azza wa Jal, we affirm and we negate. Okay, let's go over it inshallah. So Tawheed al-Asma'i wa Sifat has three pillars. First is Isbat, affirmation. We affirm what Allah affirms and we negate what He negates. Now the third one is tawaqquf, something called we pause. So for example, someone says, does Allah have the body? In the Quran Sunnah, you never find Allah affirmed or negated it. Did He affirm or did He negate? Nothing. So we say not tawaqquf, we pause. We don't say anything. Okay? So we remain silent on that. But other ones, Allah has love, He has the wrath, He has the will, He has things like He has a hand that befits Him, He has the eye that befits Allah. These are affirmed in the Quran and Sunnah. So we affirm it. Negate. Allah negating from Himself. Tiredness, sleep, slumber, okay, forgetfulness. These are we negate totally from Allah Azza wa Jalla. But when you say does Allah have a body, we don't know. We cannot affirm, nor can we negate. With nothing there to affirm or negate. That's what it means. Okay. Now, another thing I want to mention is that Shaykhul-Islam mentions in Tadmuriyah, he said, فطريقتهم يعني على السنة تتضمن إثبات أسماء والصفات مع نفي مماثلة المخلوقات. Okay, then he says إثبات بلا تشبيه تنزيح بلا تعطيل. We'll explain this inshallah. He said that the way of the Ahlul Hadith that we affirm Allah's names and attributes and negating likeness to the creation, giving likeness to the creation. Then he said إثبات بلا تشبيه. Now here affirming without tashbih. Now the mumaththilun, the people who make attributes of Allah like the creation. Allah said, the Shaykhul-Islam says, لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ وَهُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْبَصِيرُ. Ayah. So Shaykhul-Islam says, لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ, nothing like Allah, is a negation, is a refutation against the mumaththilun, those who make Allah like the creation. وَهُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْبَصِيرُ is a refutation against the Jahmiyyah, who says Allah has no attributes. So this ayah is a refutation against those two sects. طيب. So what does it mean when Shaykhul-Islam said إثبات بلا تشبيه? So mumaththilun, they say we affirm Allah's attributes. We affirm it. Allah has eyes, hand, everything we affirm. That we affirm. But we make Allah's attributes like the creation. Okay? So they affirm it, but they make it like the creation. That's one extreme. Okay? So Shaykhul-Islam said, we affirm without tashbih. Why? So we say Allah's attributes like Allah's attributes. Okay? Allah has hand that befits Allah. Okay? Okay? Allah has eye that befits Allah Azza wa Jal. So Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen explains that just because our attributes is similar to, we have the same attributes what Allah has, it doesn't mean it's similar. Okay? For example, a bird. A bird has eyes, isn't it? We have eyes. Do we become a bird? No, we don't. A lion has eyes. Fish has eyes. Are they same? No. So why can't Allah have the eye that befits Allah? That's what it is. So we affirm it without giving likeness to it. The next part is that tanzih bila ta'til. So this is another extreme, the Jahmiyyah. Okay? They say, we want to free Allah from all imperfections. So we're not gonna affirm any attributes from Allah. So if we say Allah has attributes, we made Allah like the creation. So Allah has no attributes. So that's another extreme. We make tanzih of Allah, Allah is free from all imperfections, but it doesn't mean you deny the sifat of Allah. Denying the sifat of Allah which Allah affirmed is not a form of imperfection. You're not freeing Allah from imperfection, you're denying His sifat, which we should be affirming it. طيب? So that's what Shaykhul-Islam mean. Tanzih bila ta'til. Tanzih mean freeing Allah from imperfection. Doesn't mean you have to deny the sifat of Allah Azza wa Jal. لا. طيب يا إخوة. So these are this is what Tadmuri Shaykhul-Islam mentions. Alhamdulillah. So here we learn that Tawheed al-Asma'i wa Sifat, basic rule is that we talk about Allah's names and attributes, we affirm what Allah affirms, we negate what Allah negates, okay? And providing we don't fall into these four things. Tahrif, distorting. Takif, okay, saying how. Tamthil, giving likeness. And ta'til, to deny it. These four things we should avoid that. If these four things comes into it, that will nullify our Tawheed Asma'i wa Sifat. طيب. So continuing from that, here it says man jahada. Man jahada yani those who deny. Now Nu'aym bin Hammad, he says, denying a different levels of denying Asma wa Sifat. Nu'aym bin Hammad, the teacher of Imam Bukhari, he said, Man jahada ma wasafa Allah bihi nafsahu faqad kafara. Wa man shabbaha Allah ma wasafa Allah bihi nafsihi bimakhluqatihi faqad kafara. Okay? ليس مما وصف الله به نفسه ورسوله في تشبيه. This, he said that whoever deny or reject whatever Allah had described Himself with has disbelieved. And whoever gives likeness of Allah's attributes to the creation has disbelieved. There's nothing in the Quran and Sunnah where Allah describes and the Messenger describes there is tashbih, there is likeness. Nothing. So if you look in the Quran and Sunnah where Allah describes Himself and also describes, there's nothing likeness about giving likeness to the creation. Allah's sifat is unique to Himself, and the sifat of the creation unique to the creation. طيب, this is Hammad bin Nu'aym bin Hammad, the teacher of Imam Bukhari. This athar is reported by Shaykhul-Islam, Ibn Taymiyyah in Majmul Fatawa, Imam al-Dhahabi in Ulu, and Ibn al-Qayyim, he mentioned is Juyush al-Islamiyya, one of the book. طيب. So when it comes to juhud, rejecting, denying the sifat of Allah Azza wa Jal, at different levels. Like tahrif at different levels. Not all tahrif, distortion of sifat of Allah, major kufr. La. So denying, juhud is one of the type of kufr. Ibn Qayyim mentions, Imam Nawawi mentions. Juhud in asma sifat, first is, Ibn Uthaymin says, نوعان. الأول إنكار تكذيب, to disbelieve it, to deny it, to reject it. Okay? So he doesn't believe in asma wa sifat of Allah Azza wa Jal. Okay? And that is a major kufr. This is juhud of Jahmiyyah, to deny it, reject. The second type of juhud ta'weel. Ta'weel meaning giving tafsir. So you denied the attributes of Allah, but there's something, there's two types as well. One is sin, you are sinful, major, it's not a kufr. Is that you're making ta'weel, you are making, you deny, you're changing the sifat of Allah or ayat, because you made a tafsir. And that the tafsir that you gave has a support in the language, in the grammar. So let me give you an example. If someone says, hand of Allah in the Quran mean ni'mah. But Shaykh al-Mu'tamin says, that's wrong, but it's not kufr. Because hand does mean ni'mah. In some way, he brings a poem to explain that hand, yad mean ni'mah. But it doesn't mean in the ayah ni'mah. Like Allah says in the Quran, ما منعك أن تسجد ما منعك أن تسجد لما خلقت بيدي. What prevents you, Iblis, to make sajda to Adam when I created him with my own hand? بيدي, with my two hands. Okay? So here, yad mean Allah has two hands that befits him. It doesn't mean ni'mah. Why? Because Allah has only two ni'mah. It's more than that. And number two, doesn't make sense Arabically to create something with a ni'mah. So if I say, خَلَقْتُ قَلَمًا بِيَدَيَّ, I've created a pen with my two hands. Does it mean my two ni'mah? La. So here it doesn't mean ni'mah. It means hand of Allah Azza wa Jalla. Generally that's what it means in the Quran and Sunnah. طيب? But in Arabic language, sometimes they do use hand mean ni'mah. No, but not in the Quran. Sifat of Allah had his hand. طيب. Also, another example. يوم يكشف عن ساق. Ayah. يوم يكشف عن ساق. Allah, the ayah talking about exposing the saq. You know, saq mean the shin. And then we affirm Allah has a shin that befits Allah Azza wa Jal. Now, Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, he says saq doesn't mean the shin of Allah, it means shiddatul amr. Okay? The intensification of the matter that will happen Yawm al-Qiyamah. You know Yawm al-Qiyamah, the Qiyam and the Hisab, it's going to be shadid, you know, severe. He says it means severe here. The Day of Judgment. Yawma yukshaf. Day, Yawm al-Qiyamah. Yukshaf an saq. In Arabic language, the saq mean that as well. So they say that kashafat as-saq anil harb. Kashafat as-saq anil harb, meaning the harb is the war. When the war starts, the saq, the matter goes intensified, isn't it? That's what it means. So saq can mean that as well. So Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu gave the tafsir, saq here mean shiddatul amr. But which is wrong. But it coincides with the lugha. So we say that's not kufr. That's a khata, it's a mistake. See what I mean? Okay? So you can make juhud of sifat, you can reject a sifat of Allah based on lugha, tafsir. Okay? This is tafsir Ibn Abbas, Tarjuma al-Quran. طيب. But this tafsir is the wrong tafsir because the hadith explained the ayah. يَوْمَ يُكْشَفُ عَنْ سَاقٍ. The hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari, Abu Sa'id al-Khudri radiallahu anhu, when Prophet ﷺ said that يَوْمَ يَكْشِفُ الرَّبْ عَنْ سَاقِهِ. يَوْمَ يَكْشِفُ الرَّبْ عَنْ سَاقِهِ. That on that day Allah Azza wa Jal will expose his saq, which is the shin. So that hadith explain what his saq is. Allah has a shin that He will expose. And we know that people will prostrate to Allah Azza wa Jal, the believers, the munafiqun will not able to prostrate. Because they never believe in Allah Azza wa Jal, or the back will not straighten, will bend. Okay? So here we have to understand juhud. Okay? Jahada. So jahada, one is takdeeb, denying, not believing at all, that's major kufr. But second type of juhud is ta'wil. You made ta'wil, you made tafsir, distorted based on the lugha or grammatical meaning is there. That's what happened here with Ibn Abbas. Okay? The second inkar ta'wil, which has no sharia, there's no support from the lugha. There's no, so someone says, for example, بَلْ يَدَاهُ مَبْسُوطَتَانِ. Yad mean heaven and the earth or something like that. Okay? This is kufr. Because you denied it, totality. But if someone says yad here mean ni'mah, then we can understand it's wrong, but the tafsir, because hand mean ni'mah as well. But hand never mean heaven and the earth. So Shaykh gives an example like that. طيب, إخوة. So, We given the definition of Asma wa Sifat, explained it, and we gave some of the. So remember that, inshallah.
So what's the third one again?
Which one?
The rejecting and denying of different levels.
Denying, we said two types. First is takdeeb, disbelieving it, not to affirm anything. That's major kufr. The second one is denying based on tafsir. So a mufassir gave tafsir of the ayah, but based on the lugha. But he made mistake, like Ibn Abbas. Okay? Saq mean shiddatul amr. Linguistically, it does support what he said, but hadith says no, saq means the shin of Allah. The second type of juhud is the ta'wil, but there's no support from the language aspect or the grammar aspect. It's called, he gave wrong tafsir of it. For example, saying yad mean, the Shaykh says here, heaven and the earth or something like that. Heaven and the earth. But if he says ni'mah, we can understand what it means, but this ta'wil, distortion, has some sort of linguistic support from the back, but it is not accepted. Because yad does mean ni'mah, but not here though. We say he has made the mistake. Okay? Continue with that, inshallah. فَلَيْسَ كَمِثْلِ شَيْءٍ وَهُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْبَصِيرُ is a refutation of two groups. Mushabbihun and Mu'attilun. Mushabbihun are those who give likeness of sifat of Allah to the creation. Mu'attilun, they deny totally. But Mu'attilun are different levels. Jahmiya, they're kuffar. Then you go Mu'tazila, Asha'ira, they're still Muslims, but they don't deny in totality. They affirm some of the sifat of Allah Azza wa Jal. So they were therefore under Mu'attilun, still the rejecter of the sifat of Allah Azza wa Jal. Yeah, the Maturidi and all that, they come in as well. So Shaykhul-Islam Wahhab rahimahullah brings an ayah from the Quran, وَهُمْ يَكْفُرُونَ بِالرَّحْمَنِ وَهُمْ يعني the Quraysh, the kuffar, they disbelieve in Ar-Rahman. Okay? Now this is referring to Sulh al-Hudaybiyah. Okay? When Prophet ﷺ wrote the letter, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Suhail bin Amr, okay, he wasn't a Muslim then. So when the letter was written by Ali, okay, they said, Manir Rahman, la na'rif illa Rahman Yamama, yani Musaylim al-Kadhdhab. So he said, what is this Ar-Rahman? Only Rahman we know, Rahman al-Yamama. Yamama yani referring to Musaylim al-Kadhdhab. Musaylim al-Kadhdhab who claimed to be a prophet when Prophet was alive. When Prophet ﷺ passed away, Abu Bakr became a Khalifa, okay, and he got the army and he fought Musaylima and he destroyed them. Okay, that's when a lot of companions passed away, and when the Quran had to come together. So Musaylim al-Kadhdhab was perished, destroyed. He claimed to be a prophet, yadu billah. So Suhail says, the ayah said they disbelieved mushrik of the name Ar-Rahman. So when they say they disbelieve Ar-Rahman, it's not they disbelieve in Allah, it's the name. They believe in Allah Azza wa Jal. وَلَئِنْ سَأَلْتَهُمْ مَنْ خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ لَيَقُولُنَّ اللَّهِ. If you were to say who created heaven and earth, they will say Allah. So they believe in Allah Azza wa Jal, but they denied the name Ar-Rahman. Okay? So the mushrik they denied this name. What does Ar-Rahman mean? It's the name of Allah. The sifa is Ar-Rahma. Okay? This name is only for Allah Azza wa Jal. And the scholars have explained the difference between Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim. Ar-Rahman ala wazn fa'lan. And shay'un mumtali. Something is filled. Okay? So Ibn Qayyim says that Ar-Rahman yadullu ila sifa wasi'ah. He shows he has a lot of rahmah. Ar-Rahman. Something, a lot. Okay? Al-Fa'lan. Ar-Rahman, Al-Fa'lan means something that a lot. So Allah has a lot of rahmah, wasi'ah. Okay? Ar-Rahim, sifa rahmah, ala wazn fa'il, yadullu ila fi'l. Ibn Qayyim says, he shows his action. That Allah shows the mercy. And Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned in the Quran, وَكَانَ بِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ رَحِيمًا. That this Rahim here means Allah will show rahmah to the believers on the Day of Judgment. So rahmah is rahmah wasi'ah, a lot of rahmah, a lot of mercy that Allah has. Rahim, Allah is merciful, but He will show that mercy on the Day of Judgment. So that's the difference between Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim. So here, the mushrik of the Quraysh, okay, they disbelieved in the name Ar-Rahman. So Shaykhul-Islam bring this ayah to, that's the only name they disbelieved. So Suhail bin Amr, Surah Al-Hudaybiyah, he said, who is this Ar-Rahman? Okay, so Prophet basically, instead of writing Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, okay, it was told to write Uktub Bismika Allahumma, Bismika Allahumma. Okay, no, not ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Bismika Allahumma. That was written in the letter. Prophet don't want to cause fitna. Okay, just write this. So Suhail he did become Muslim toward the end of his life. Tayyib. So that's what this hadith ayah talking about. Sulh al-Hudaybiyah. Sulh, yeah. Peace treaty of Hudaybiyah. Tayyib, inshallah. وفي الصحيح البخاري قال علي said حدثوا الناس بما يعرفون أتريدون أن يكذبوا الله ورسوله. That Ali said, speak to the people to the level. Okay, to the level, speak to the people how they will understand. Do you want them to disbelieve Allah and His Messenger? Okay? طيب, what does this mean here then? Means that when we give da'wah, we have to speak to the people to their knowledge, to the audience, knowing the audience. If you talk about issues they might not understand, they might deny it. So for example, sifat of Allah Azza wa Jal, he brings this statement of Ali. For example, if you go back home now and try to explain, speak to them about sifat of Allah Azza wa Jal, Allah's hand, eye, that befits Him, you made Allah like the creation. Allah has no surah, He has no form, yadu billah. They don't know. Okay? So you have to build them up. So if you tell them that, they reject it. Okay? They reject it. They will not understand. Because they haven't studied. Asma sifat of Allah Azza wa Jal. So therefore they will reject the ayah, and that's what yukadhibun. They will disbelieve in Allah and His Messenger. They will deny the haqq. Because they have no da'wah came to them regarding this. And I've heard people say Allah has no features, Allah has no attributes. Allah is, they don't understand, subhanAllah. They deny the sifat of Allah. You know, generally if you go back home, my country, because I know my country, some of the Jahmiyyah and sifat of Allah, Ash'ara, who's Jahmiyyah? But they haven't been taught, they don't know. How can you make Allah like us? Allah has eyes like us? A'udhu billah. Allah doesn't have to have eyes like us. He has eyes that befits Him. He hears and sees. That's what the ulama said. You know, Allah says, لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِ شَيْءٍ وَهُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْبَصِيرُ. There's nothing like Allah. He hears and sees. Shaykh Shanqiti mentioned that these are two attributes that you find in every creation. Okay? Seeing and hearing, isn't it? So if you say to them, does Allah see and hear? Yeah, of course. So he has attributes, isn't it? He has attributes. They will not deny these two things. They will never deny it. But if you say, okay, does Allah have a hand? No, you're making Allah like the creation now. But if Allah hears, I hear it as well. If Allah sees, I see it as well. Does it mean Allah like us now? No, it doesn't. Because there, Ibn Taymiyyah talks about sifatul mushtarika, attributes that are shared between the human being and the creation, Allah and the creation. Just the name, but the uniqueness is different. Like for example, فَسَوْفَ يَأْتِ اللَّهُ بِقَوْمِ يُحِبُّهُمْ وَيُحِبُّونَ. That if they disbelieve, Allah will come with a nation, Allah will love them and they will love Allah. So mahabba, Allah mentioned by Himself and the creation as well. Okay? So many ayah. Allah attributes some wal-bas to the creation. So their attribute that we have, Allah has it. But Allah is unique. We have knowledge, Allah has knowledge. I hear, Allah hears. Allah sees, I see. But it doesn't mean I become Allah, yadu billah. Allah's seeing is different to my seeing. So inshallah, that's how we can explain to the people. So here Ali radiallahu anhu basically expressing by saying that speak to people to their level, you know, to your audience. Because if you speak about issue about Islam, like Asma Sifat especially, and they haven't studied Asma Sifat, they will reject it. They're not going to learn. Okay, so it takes time and time. That's where the hikmah comes in. طيب, that's what it is. وروى عبد الرزاق عن معمر عن ابن طاووس عن أبيه عن ابن عباس. That's the sanad. أنه رأى رجلا انتفض لما سمع حديث عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم في صفات استنكارا لذلك، فقال ما فرق هؤلاء يجدون رقة عند محكمه ويهلكون عند متشابه. Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, okay, he's narrating that he saw a man, okay, when he heard a hadith about sifat of Allah, he frowned, you know, shivered. فقال Ibn Abbas said, ما فرق هؤلاء? What did they get scared? What they frown for? They find clear evidences, muhkama, and they get destroyed by mutashabiha. And we know that in the Quran, the ayat of muhkamat and mutashabihat. هو الذي أنزل عليكم كتاب منه آيات محكمات هن أم الكتاب وأخرى متشابهات. That he is the one revealed the book to you. In it the ayat of muhkamat, the mother of the books, and the ayat of mutashabihat. Okay, so we have two ayat, muhkamat, mutashabihat. All the ayat are muhkamat, okay, relate to sifat of Allah. Okay, muhkamat meaning you don't need the ayat to clarify this, clear. Tawheed of Allah clear, ayat of muhkamat. Okay, mutashabihat is ambiguous, yani to the people, laymen. Allah said in the verse, nobody knows this except Allah and the rasikhuna fil ilm. Those who have a lot of knowledge, scholars and things like that. So ayat of mutashabihat, the scholars have knowledge of it. Allah gave them knowledge, and they understand the ayat of mutashabihat. And the ayat of mutashabihat, ayat which are unclear, are explained by the ayat which are muhkamat. Allah said, فَأَمَّا الَّذِينَ فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ زَيْغٌ فَيَتَّبِعُونَ مَا تَشَابَهَ مِنْهُ. That as for those people who have a disease in their heart, they follow the ayat of mutashabiha, ambiguous. They take this ayat and implement that, where this ayat is explained by ayat of muhkamat. So, Abdul ibn Abbas telling that the ayat of sifat are muhkamat, they're clear verses. Okay? Ayat of attributes of Allah Azza wa Jalla, they're clear verses, there's no ambiguity in it, unclearness in that is clear. Why they live in those ayat and they're following the ayat which are mutashabiha, not clear, and they're getting destroyed by that, perish by that, because the Ahlul Bid'ah, they follow ayat of mutashabiha, not muhkamat. Yadu billah, the Khawarij and things like that. They follow the ayat of mutashabiha. So what we learn from this is that we should take this, we should believe in sifat of Allah, because all the ayat of sifat of Allah are muhkamat. There's nothing ambiguity. It's clear. Okay? It's very, very clear. So my brothers, this is the chapter we covered today. So kindly remember those definitions of Asma wa Sifat. Inshallah, we've covered the name, this chapter, and we'll do this more detail in next book coming, Wasatiyah, because that's specifically for Asma wa Sifat. Jazakumullah khair. Any clarification? Inshallah. We have. Okay. Shaykhul-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah said in Wasatiyah, okay, this is what he says: Al-Imanu billah, Al-Imanu bima wasafa Allahu bihi nafsahu, wa bima wasafa bihi rasuluhu, min ghayri tahrif wala ta'til. وَمِنْ غَيْرِ تَكِيفٍ وَلَا تَمْثِيلٍ. He said, to have faith in Allah is to believe what Allah described Himself in the Quran, whatever Prophet described in the Sunnah. Then he said, without falling into tahrif. Tahrif means to distort. Without distorting anything from the sifat of Allah. Tahrif, wala ta'til, to deny it. That is the Jahmiyyah. Without takif, without saying how. You know, the man came to Imam Malik and said, Allah rose above the throne. How he rose? A'udhu billah. You don't say Allah is a hand. How is his hand? A'udhu billah. Things like that. And tamtheel, likening Allah's attributes to the creation. Okay? We avoid these four things. These four things will destroy will nullify the asma sifat of Allah Azza wa Jal. That's what it is. We'll cover this more inshallah. Next book. Go on.
What's the ruling on believing that there's metaphors in the Quran?
Metaphors. Such as?
Let's say something like Summun Bukmun Umyun Fahum La Yaqilun, deaf, dumb and blind. Would it be permissible to call that a metaphor or not?
Allah describing the munafiqun. Summun Bukmun Umyun Fahum La Yarji'un. Some that can be metaphoric, meaning they're deaf, dumb and blind because they don't accept the haqq. They don't accept the haqq. Allah describing the munafiqun with this attribute, deaf, dumb and blind. Even though they are not deaf, dumb, literally, but when the haqq comes, they cover it, they don't accept it. They reject the haqq. It doesn't penetrate through their heart. Okay? Like for example, a man who lives all his life not worshipping Allah. He said, he's like a blind man. He sees it, but he's blind. He will be raised blind, Yawm al-Qiyamah. Allah will tell him, you lived your life in the Surah Taha, the ayah, you forgotten my sign, okay, it's like you rejected my sign, you lived like a blind man, I've raised you blind. Allah raised him blind, but he lived his life a blind man. Why? Because he didn't accept the haqq, he didn't practice the deen, the haqq did not penetrate to his heart, you know. So it can be sometimes metaphoric, so maybe, that's what it is. They're deaf, dumb and blind because they live their life like deaf, dumb and blind. Even though they might be running and eating and drinking and they can see things, but when it comes to haqq, Islam, they don't believe it. It doesn't penetrate to the heart. They are deaf. You don't hear the haqq. So it can be metaphoric. Allah knows best, yeah. Go on.
Just wanted to ask, sort of like, obviously like the Brelvi sect, they give like,
Brelvis?
yeah, like they believe that the Prophet Muhammad like could see like sort of what's like happening and sort of like make him sort of like, I don't know, like giving him like sort of those attributes. So I just wanted to like ask, because like from my research about Ahmed Raza Khan, like Islam Q&A, like they said like that he was like a misguided like extremist.
Who?
Ahmed Raza Khan.
Yeah.
So
We don't follow them. We don't follow them.
Like a kafir or?
Eh?
Can we say that he's a kafir?
No, who Ahmadiyya?
No,
They say
Brelvi.
Ahmad Raza Khan.
Oh, the one who claimed to be prophet.
No.
No, that's the
The
army.
head of the Barelvis.
Brelvi are not. They're not known to be believers anyway. The ulama, Muslims, because of the belief they hold, and the aqidah they hold for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is major kufr, and we have many evidences. Rasulullah said, "Ana basharu mithlukum." Okay, I am mankind like you. Ansa kama tansun. I forget like you forget. Idha nasitu fadhakkiruni. If I forget, remind me. The Prophet said, because he prayed Asr 5 rak'ah by mistake. So how is not a human being? He's not a human being. He's a human being. Innaka mayyit. Ya Muhammad, you're going to pass away. Aisha said, Prophet Nabiullah, okay, he died. Allah took his soul between my neck and my chest. Prophet died on the chest of Aisha. So how can you give a prophet the attributes of Allah? A'udhu billah. La yajuz. He said, لا تطروني كما أطرت النصارى عيسى ابن مريم إني عبد الله ورسوله. They do not praise me the way the Christian praise Isa. How did they pray? They made him ilah. Do not praise me like that. I'm just a slave and messenger of Allah. He warned against that. He warned against people praising him. Yadu billah. Yes, Rasulullah, no doubt. Best of the mankind. But he's a human being. He got married, he had children, he need to eat, he need to sleep, he forgets. He does not have knowledge of unseen. Why? Because if he had knowledge of unseen, would he allow the Sahaba to die in Battle of Uhud? He wouldn't. 50 archers, what's going to happen? If he knew the future, he didn't know. He's going to win, they're going to come down, Khalid bin Walid is going to come round, and he's going to destroy them. He never knew this. He never had knowledge of unseen. So to raise Prophet to that level is haram. It's la yajuz. Some of the people who believe like that, it's major kufr. Major kufr. A'udhu billah. But yes, what we can say, his body is intact. He's not Rasulullah. Prophet's body are not eaten by the earth and the shuhada. Prophet said, when you give me salam, my ruh comes and I respond to the salam. That's okay. But it doesn't mean he can hear you, he can benefit you. He sits there eating and drinking. A'udhu billah. Prophet has passed away. Innaka mayyit. Kullu nafsin dha'iqatul maut. Every soul must taste death. He's one of the nafs. He has tasted the death. Khalas. So these Brelwis and they're not Muslims, and because the belief they hold. This is general. This is general fatwa, not specifically. La. Generally, that's what they are. So yeah, we don't pray behind them or anything.
I mean, because I did ask them like personally, and they said like you cannot like give like doctor and like the or like breadbees until like they actually believe something, and then you like give like the proof to them, and then like they reject it.
Obviously they only accept their belief, whatever you give, because this is what they believe about Rasulullah. That's what it is, isn't it? So yeah, don't pray behind them, inshallah. You're gone.
Is it permissible to pray behind someone who denies Allah's ulu?
Allah's ulu.
Yeah. That he's above the creation, above the throne.
If the hujjah is established, now to believe Allah is everywhere physically is major kufr. Okay, it's haram. And Ibn Taymiyyah said to this Mu'tazila, when he came to him and said, Allah is everywhere. He said, if you say with knowledge, you'll be a kafir. But he was an ignorant man. So, I will not pray. It's a major kufr. I will not pray. Someone believes Allah is not above the throne, then it is not, I will not pray behind him. And if the hujjah is established on him, that is enough to take him out of all of Islam. If he says, but we have to understand when he says Allah is everywhere, what does it mean? Knowledge, he's hearing, he's seeing, or he's physically everywhere. If you believe Allah is physically everywhere, okay, that means he's in your toilet, he's in your... If someone says like that, then obviously, if he's no majnoon, if he's got sanity, if someone says it like that, then he's not a Muslim. Khalas. He can't be Muslim.
Does that apply to the Asha'ira?
Yeah?
Does that ruling apply to the Asha'ira?
Yeah, it really applies to everyone, but I will not pray behind Ash'ari anyway. We shouldn't pray anyway. But that belief anyone holds after bayan is given to him, and the hujjah has been established, the proof has been given to him, then it's kafir.
But wouldn't they deny the physicality of Allah in the first place?
They deny the sifat of Allah. I don't know what Ash'ari believe in that, but anyone believes that.
So that if you were to ask them, do you believe Allah is everywhere, physically, then they would deny that Allah is even physical in the first place.
They will deny. That's even major kufr. But anyway, the long topic will... any... خلاص? Okay, جزاكم الله خير.